Hello, I'm David Chaston with 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz. This is where you get everything you need to know in 90 seconds at 9 o'clock, including news of another fall in the global dairy trade auction this morning. But first, there was a dramatic rise in the New Zealand currency overnight ahead of today's employment numbers for the March quarter. The rises by the Kiwi were against all currencies. Against the US dollar, the Kiwi rose 80 basis points and sits at 87.6 US cents this morning, its highest level since August 2011. But it's still below the record post-float high of 88.2 set back then. Against the Aussie dollar, we're up marginally at 93.6 Aussie cents, but still away off the record post-float high of 95.5 Aussie cents in December 2005. But because it has been broad-based, a TWI has reached 81.1, a record high post-float back to 1985. Also overnight, the latest Fonterra dairy auction results are out. They show another decline, but only minus 1.1% this time in US dollars. In New Zealand dollars, however, the decline was 2.5%. That means, in New Zealand dollar terms, dairy prices have fallen at these auctions 27.5% since the beginning of the year. In US dollars, the drop is 22%. Compared with the same time a year ago, the falls are slightly less at 21% in New Zealand dollars and 19% in US dollars. Elsewhere, the US reported a narrower trade deficit as exports rose, but it's not enough to affect their economy. China's banking regulators are getting skittish about lending practices. There were 2 warnings out from them overnight. The OECD has downgraded its global forecast for this year on weakening prospects for emerging economies, pinning most of the growth hopes on major developed countries, especially the US. It has also warned Australia not to overdo their upcoming budget adjustments. The RBA left its cash rate target unchanged late yesterday afternoon. In New York, equity markets have fallen today in late afternoon trade, down 0.7% with tech stocks under the most pressure. Gold is marginally weaker, the oil price is essentially unchanged. Benchmark US Treasury 10-year bond yields are lower by about 1 basis point at 2.60% in late trade. So the main news today is that we start with the New Zealand dollar up even further overnight, now at 87.6 US cents, also up against the Aussie dollar at 93.6 Aussie cents, and the TWI is just a fraction under 81.1. That's high. I'm David Chaston. That was 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz.